Iran stands at a precipice, teetering between internal collapse and the looming specter of another devastating war. The nation's leadership is grappling with a perfect storm of crises, nuclear negotiations in freefall, a water shortage that's turning cities into parched battlegrounds, and a regime that's growing increasingly desperate as its enemies circle. But here's where it gets controversial. Is the Islamic Republic's recent plea for diplomacy a genuine attempt to avert disaster, or a calculated ploy to buy time for rebuilding its nuclear arsenal? Let's break it down. The nuclear deadlock and the snapback threat. The 2015 Iran nuclear deal, once hailed as a diplomatic breakthrough, has crumbled under the weight of mutual distrust. Now, France, Germany, and Britain are preparing to activate the so-called snapback mechanism, a provision in the agreement that allows the reimposition of UN sanctions from 2006 to 2010. This isn't just a technicality, it's a seismic shift in power. By bypassing the UN Security Council's veto rights, thanks to the US withdrawal, these three nations can single-handedly unleash economic and military restrictions that could cripple Iran's already struggling economy. The deadline? End of August. A senior Iranian official called this move an existential threat, and with good reason. The sanctions would include an arms embargo, uranium enrichment bans, and asset freezes on key figures. The question is, will Iran blink before the clock runs out? Water, war, and the war of words. Meanwhile, the water crisis has become a new flashpoint. Iranian leaders are pointing fingers at Israel, with one parliamentarian accusing it of attacking water pipes in Tehran. But let's not forget the irony. Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu recently promised to help Iran's people with water once the regime falls. It's a surreal exchange that underscores the absurdity of the conflict. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian, meanwhile, admitted in a rare moment of candor, "We have no water. What can we do if we don't enter negotiations?" His honesty drew fire from hardline media, which accused him of projecting weakness. But here's the kicker. Is this vulnerability a sign of desperation, or a strategic move to force the world's hand? And this is the part most people miss. While the nuclear program was damaged in the recent war, Iran still holds a stockpile of 400 kilograms of 60% enriched uranium, enough for multiple warheads. So, who's really in the driver's seat here? The regime's strategic quagmire. Former Israeli intelligence expert Danny Citrinowicz paints a grim picture. He argues Iran is trapped in a sequence of complex blows: the war with Israel, the water crisis, and U.S. influence in regional deals like the Armenia-Azerbaijan agreement. The regime is scrambling to rebuild its proxies in Lebanon and Iraq, even as those groups failed to deter Israel. But here's the rub. Until Iran restores its air defenses and missile capabilities, it won't make any major moves on the nuclear front. This creates a window of opportunity for diplomacy, if the West can leverage the crisis to force concessions. Yet, as Citrinowicz warns, the risk of another war is real. We're talking about a war that would begin immediately, at a very high level of intensity, he says. So, should the world push harder for peace, or is another conflict inevitable? The bigger picture, a regime on the brink. The Islamic Republic is in a tight spot. Its leadership is split between hardliners who blame enemies for every crisis and moderates like Pezeshkian who admit the regime's failures. The snapback deadline looms, the water crisis deepens, and the nuclear program lurks in the shadows. But here's the ultimate question. Can diplomacy win the day, or is this just the opening act of a far bloodier chapter? We'd love to hear your take. Do you think the West should double down on pressure, or is negotiation the only path forward? Share your thoughts in the comments below.